Hi loves, welcome back to another video, and yeah, you have guessed it, we are making sourdough bread loaves. Yeah, that's right. So yeah, that's why I explained in the video before that we are how to do sourdough starter, but now we are making something important for the bread, something called levain or levain. It's spelled I'm gonna put it on the screen here. So our levain is actually gonna be some of our sourdough starter. So we are gonna start out with 35 grams of sourdough starter, and your sourdough starter should be, 6 to 7 days mature. So like I said, this was gifted to me, so I don't know when exactly they made it, but yeah, and your sourdough starter should be nice and foamy on the top. It should kind of have a sourish like smell as well. And to this, we're gonna add 35 grams of stone ground wheat flour, and we're gonna add 35 grams of all-purpose flour and 70 grams of water. And basically, this is kind of like a pre ferment for our sourdough bread, which is going to give us the structure and those beautiful air pockets throughout the whole sourdough loaf. That's what we're creating here, and it's going to give it that extra boost of flavor basically. So, and I want to say most recipes actually do not call for the levain, so there's some that don't have it, where you just put the sourdough dough straight into like your pre-mixed shaggy dough, which we're gonna make here. But your levain is actually gonna, once I combine all the ingredients, you're gonna let that sit for 5 hours, and yeah, so I mix the water in, so it's gonna be nice and kind of thick like that. And cover it. You can either cover it with a kitchen towel, or what I used was some shower caps, some large shower caps. They work fine. And ideally, you want your house to be around between 70 to 78 degrees. You don't want it really too hot. You don't want it like 80 something degrees, and I'm not sure if that's gonna kind of interfere with your dough making for sourdough bread. But so I did have the AC kind of on, because it is 90 something right now in Texas. But yeah, we're gonna just put this in a warm spot in your house, which actually I ended up moving that bowl to the inside of my oven for 5 hours. So after 5 hours, we're gonna start making the actual dough. Like I would say 1 hour before your levain is ready, go ahead and start making your dough. So in our bowl, and I'm using a kitchen scale to measure out all my ingredients. You can easily get your kitchen scale. I got mine through when I went to culinary school and stuff, but you can get your kitchen scale off of Amazon or something like that. So, but I might need to get a bigger one, because it was kind of hard to see that little scale, but it does a lot. It does grams, ounces, it has pounds, you name it. Anyway, so we're gonna add 75 grams of the stone ground wheat flour, and then we're gonna add, after that, 680 grams of water. But we actually do not add all the water. We actually really add 580 grams. You need a total of 680 grams. So I save 100 grams aside when we add in our salt later, which will also enhance the flavor of the sourdough bread. So that's really important. But all these steps that I'm doing is very crucial because, like I said, I wanted that tanginess that I normally expect in the sourdough bread, and for years I've been just kind of, just getting my sourdough bread from the grocery stores, and they're pretty much great every time. And now that I think about it, this recipe is very, very easy to do because it's literally just flour, salt, and water. So it's not really too expensive to make as it is already. But it's just cool that the fact that we're making a natural yeast. That's where the starter comes from, because it's actually going to be a natural yeast for our bread, just by letting it kind of sit out at room temperature really for a few days, and then you will feed your sourdough starter once a day. I didn't do that since, I would say just put yours in the refrigerator if you don't plan on baking a lot of stuff with it. So that's why, and also putting it in the refrigerator will kind of slow down the fermentation of the starter as well. So, but yeah, it's our natural yeast culture, and I want to say that's why sourdough is actually healthy for us too, because of the natural like acid in the sourdough bread is good for our gut health, and it's easy for us to digest. So, but anyway, once I added most of my water in, you are just gonna kind of mix it in until it's like a really shaggy dough. So, and you're gonna just do this for like a few minutes. You just really want to make sure it's well incorporated, pretty much for the most part. And then after you do this for like a few minutes, you are gonna get another shower cap and place it in a warm spot, and we're gonna let that rise for 1 hour. But yeah, the cool thing I discovered with sourdough starter is that you could use your leftover sourdough starter for actually a lot of recipes. So I might experiment and do like a blueberry like scone. So that's what I'm thinking about making next with the sourdough starter. You can do biscuits, you can do some kind of vegetable like savory fritters. So that was another idea that I was thinking about using with my starter, because once you have all the starter, you kind of don't know what to do with it for the most part. But if I make enough bread, I say make enough bread where you can just give it to your friend or neighbor. So alright, so once I let it rest for an hour, I combined my levain to the dough as well. So you first want to wet your hands a little bit, because you're going to be basically using your hands to mix the dough. Notice I did not use my machine once. But it should be nice and bubbly after 5 hours. This is what we want. So like I said, this is a pre-fermentation for our dough. And then you're gonna wet your hands really good, your fingers really good, and you kind of have to do some kind of blotting on the top of it. And we're basically gonna kind of mix it all together, and then we're gonna put a little bit of that reserved water that we saved from earlier. And I think it does make a difference on the water. I did not explain it too much, but when I was making the dough earlier, your water needs to be 90 degrees. So I ended up doing was I used bottled purified water. Now, preferably, you want to use filtered water. So I would not recommend using tap water for your sourdough bread. So purified water is fine. So I just wanted to mention that. So anyway, we're just kind of going on the sides of the bowl and just really mixing that levain into our shaggy dough, just to make sure it's really well incorporated. And as you can see, this dough already is very, very hydrated. So I honestly don't know what the percentage of this hydration is for this recipe. I would have to kind of do a little more research from this recipe, but I feel like it's almost a 80% hydration, or it could be close to 100% hydration. I was just kind of smelling it just to make sure it's kind of that sour taste, and it kind of was. So yeah, but your hands are going to be kind of sticky, so keep putting a little water on it so it's not sticking so bad to your hands. And yeah, we're just going to kind of mix that in a little bit. I would say just do this for a total of like 2 to 3 minutes. And yeah, you kind of want your dough to be kind of shaggy and wet and kind of stretchy looking, almost like we're kind of almost sort of pre-developing that gluten as well. So